FSN Radio. It's all about what's next. Go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com and sign up for your free weekly newsletter. You'll also get 3 free reports. The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.
Welcome. You are listening to the Financial Survival Network. I'm Kerry Lutz. It's September 24th, 2018. Well, lots to talk about, especially in the political realm, which we usually avoid like the plague, but sometimes you just can't avoid the unavoidable. Hey, as always, we invite you to be part of the show. Email us, kl@kerrylutz.com. So, you know, there's a right side, there's a left side, and then there's Joe Messina with therealside.com. Joe, welcome back.
Kerry, thanks for having me. I always appreciate the time.
Always a pleasure, Joe. It's a breath of fresh air speaking to you. I know how good I have it here in sunny South Florida when I hear your tales of insanity and even worse from beautiful, sunny Southern California.
Oh, please give me a break. You know, I got to tell you something. I get the biggest kick out of here because, you know, if you want to see how the socialist Soviet United States would run if the Democrats actually had total control, just come to California. I mean, they have no money for anything, and every time you turn around, they are putting another social program in place without ever talking about how they're going to pay for it.
Yeah, well, my latest thing is the war on straws, you know? It's like there's so many other things to have wars with. There's the Russians, there's the Chinese, and they got to pick the poor lowly straw.
Yeah,
now, look, I love
where that came from, right? Do you understand?
A 9-year-old kid saying straws are bad. Fish, whales are dying from straws. And, you know, it's like, as usual, bad emotional outbursts become bad policy. So I'm in a restaurant the other day, and I'm having an iced tea, no adult beverages. I'm drying out, on the wagon, and they bring me this paper straw, and I put it in the glass. I stir it around for like a minute, and then I try to take a sip out of the straw. There's a little problem. The straw, Joe, has disintegrated, and I'm sucking in air and bubbles. It looks like a child drawing out of their bottle, and I'm like, what the hell is going on in this world? Those straws were not doing any harm to anyone. Yeah, I mean, look, better we have biodegradable plastics that are pretty much deteriorate, hey, I'm all in favor of it, but to throw out the straw with the iced tea just doesn't make any sense to me. And they brought me 2 more during the course of this meal, which both promptly disintegrated.
Yeah, but it gets better than that, because I'm sitting next to a state senator at a function a couple of weeks ago, okay? We're already using the paper straws. And they barely ours must be a little thicker. They barely make it through a drink. And so the girl pours my second iced tea and the straw wilts. I mean, it literally just bends over. And I looked at him and I said, thank you, Senator, because now that we're saving the whales, we're killing more trees because I need another straw now. So when are they going to pass the law that you only have 1 straw per sitting?
And right. Well, who was it? Sheryl Crow wanted to limit you to your toilet paper usage.
Oh,
and
listen.
So she'll get in on it.
Can you imagine dating her? You know what I'm saying?
Oh my God!
Seriously,
hey, that's like the worst of both my ex-wives. All their worst features put into one. And thank you, but no thank you, Joe. I think I can do very well
I don't even want to think of that in my head. I don't even want to see that.
But, this is madness. But the madness that's really this week's latest madness, last week's, is the Kavanaugh nomination. Now, look, hey, high school, okay? We all do idiotic things in high school. If I assume the charges are true, taken on their worst, I mean, are you supposed to punish somebody in their 50s because of what they did when they were 17?
Well, if that's the case, here's what I say to people all the time. Look, all right, I'm good with this. Let's just say I'm totally 100% behind this, right? He did it, nail him to the wall, or maybe he didn't do it. We'll still nail him to the wall. It was 35 years ago. 70% of Congress would be gone, right?
Yeah.
Let's just start off there. And then why is it that Keith Ellison, now we can go back 35 years
Keith's
to a woman
guy.
who admits that she was drunk. She doesn't remember the house. She doesn't remember the party. The two witnesses that she's named have both said, I have no clue as to what she's talking about, right? And you can and 65 women have come forward and said that's not his character.
No.
But wait a minute. And then Keith Ellison, who has beat his women, all right, and nothing. Nothing.
Well, you know the
There's
problem.
no outrage.
You know the problem with Keith Ellison is he just keeps connecting with these women who just don't listen. Damn it, right? They just will not listen to Keith, and that's a big problem for him.
Trying to get me killed, aren't you? You're trying to get me killed.
I'm not a proponent of abuse towards women. Definitely
neither one
not.
of us are.
But, like you could wake up one day and not remember anything that happened the night before, and you could be married. So
that's true.
Who knows?
Not to me, but
hey, even California, it would be okay. But I don't think they legalized polygamy yet in your state. But it's just around the corner.
Can't be that far away. Yeah. It really can't.
It's inevitable. Polygamy will be. They'll call it. They're going to rename the state call it Cal Utah or something, and break off the Mormon part that's in the east, and polygamy will be fine. And great. Hey, so, but Kavanaugh, look, if he did something like that once, it could be the result of a drunken outburst or whatever. And he's 17, he deserves to be forgiven for it. If he was 21, no, then you're an adult. 17, haven't been to college, and a reprimand if it's reported, and some severe punishment and some therapy. But the guy has no other signs other than these other fake cases, Joe, that they are coming out of the woodwork now. I think he once abused me, but the only problem is I never met him. But that doesn't seem to stop these people, right?
Yeah. No, you're exactly right. I'm still thinking about, you think about all the assault charges against congressmen, okay, Democrats and Republicans alike, but you go ahead and, if you're being honest with yourself, the majority of them against Democrats. And when you go look at this, why weren't these people immediately called on? I actually got a chuckle out of a Democrat who said they take care of their own, and they push their own out pretty fast. And I'm thinking to myself, really? So you guys all got behind Wiener when that was going on, right?
Yeah.
No, actually not at all. It was just amazing.
Yeah.
Their perception of what truth and reality is. Just two different places. But listen, back to Kavanaugh again. I don't know if you know this, but so you've had a second accuser who also can't tell you where, when, who, and how. Then you have Avenatti comes out. I mean, here's a man of high integrity.
The creepy porn lawyer is
the creepy porn lawyer comes out. And he says he has screenshots of emails that prove that Kavanaugh and another guy were running around college campuses promoting gang rape. So we go from an instance to a gang rape. I mean, does he realize how stupid he sounds? Does he really?
He has no credibility. The man has zero credibility. When your sole client, your hotshot client isn't General Motors or Apple or Google, but is Stormy Daniels, what the heck does that say about you? And you've had several hundred interviews on CNN and all the other crap, right? And you have no credibility. Just like Rudy Giuliani said that Stormy Daniels had no reputation to besmirch. Well, the creepy porn lawyer has no law practice. He is a LARP in the best sense of the word, which is a live action.
For those of us who are clueless, what the heck is a LARP?
A LARP is a live action role player. You could call reporters on CNN LARPs because they don't believe anything. They're totally inauthentic. They're just playing a role. And that's what this idiot's doing. And, he's pretty sickening, I would say.
I agree.
I really, just like if you shook his hand, you would want to go take a shower, Joe.
Or sandblast it.
Yeah, or sandblast it, or go take a dip in the Great Salt Lake or the Dead Sea to kill off all of the alien life forms that he infected you with. Right? I mean, he is the lowest of the low scum. Right? Is there any other way to describe him?
No, there isn't. And people get mad. You talk about people like this. You go, look at when you have somebody at that level. I mean, jumping in on Kavanaugh's thing now. Well, what was his fame weaning? Did he finally decide that, oh, man, I got to do something to save my butt here? People will forget about me?
Yeah. Hey, God forbid the world without Stormy Daniels is just a horrible thing to even contemplate, Joe.
I got news for you. Tucker Carlson said it. He had it right. Here's a creepy porn lawyer making all kinds of money off of her, right? And she's out having to dance strip bars to make money because she's broke.
Right.
How does that happen?
That sounds fair to me.
I mean, really, it's the other way. It's the other way around. She's getting screwed, and he's getting the money. I mean, it's really, really, really stupid.
Well, it sounds like a division of labor here, Joe. That's what makes capitalism work. That's what made America great, and that's what will lead Avenatti into the White House on the backs of
there you go.
On the back of Stormy Daniels, right?
Yeah, you go down that road if you want. No, he is an extremely sick man.
Sociopath, exploiter of women, and just an all around horrible human being who deserves to. It's not up to me to say what he does or doesn't deserve, but how's this guy still practicing law? He's not practicing law, No, I don't know what he's practicing.
But he's from you're a recovering attorney,
recovering. I think I'm fully recovered. I think I just got released from treatment a couple of months ago, so I think I'm safe now.
Yeah,
maybe. I don't know.
I hear you. I sit there and go. I just don't get it half the time. I hear these guys come out with stuff. It's almost like they're doing anything they can to fight back, to push back, and they don't even have a leg to stand on.
Oh my God, they're pathetic. So Kavanaugh, look, I knew lots of judges. I don't particularly like many of them. Some were friends, but I would just as soon see a guy who actually believes in the Constitution, and you never know how they're going to rule till they get their butts up behind the bench. And, but hey, if I was working with Ruth Bader Ginsburg, I think I'd be prone to wanting to throw any liberal I heard about into jail, if upon any grounds, when you think about it,
Yep. Yeah. No, I tell you what, if they were truly applying this equally, I'd be okay with it, but they're not. The other thing is you've been in law long enough to know they keep
calling
for an FBI investigation. Well, let's talk about what the FBI does.
Thing called jurisdiction. Jurisdiction. Like if you get caught smoking a joint at the local high school, you don't call in the FBI. That's what's called a local law enforcement matter. I know that's a difficult concept to grasp, especially if you're a liberal, but if you get caught jaywalking or speeding, the FBI doesn't set up radar traps for violations. That's not their role. And I'm not minimizing the if it happened, which I seriously don't believe.
But wait a minute, back up for a second, Kerry. I mean, think about something. So they're going to go do a forensic. They're going to look at the crime scene from a forensic standpoint. Yeah. The problem is we don't know where the crime scene is.
What crime scene?
We don't even know what block it was on, right? Hey. 35 years ago. Okay. All right. Well, let's just say we get past that. Let's go look for witnesses. Well, this has been all over the news.
There aren't any
from that party. There aren't
none.
You're exactly right. There's not a one. And the two she named don't exist. They don't agree with her.
The three she named all have said no. Either I have no recollection, which means I don't know if it happened or not, but I wasn't there. And one said, I don't even know Kavanaugh. I don't even know who he is other than guy I've seen on the TV, but I don't know. So where does that leave you? Huh?
Well,
Inspector, you know who we need?
I don't know how.
I figured it out, Joe. I know who we need. I know who we need.
That attorney way. You summed it all up.
I just figured it out, though. I know who we need to get to the bottom of this. At first, I was thinking Inspector Clouseau, but he's gone. He's dead.
Like Sharpton, right?
Oh, no.
Oh.
Mueller. He is so good at getting to the bottom of things, not particularly the thing that you want him to get to the bottom of, but when it comes to Russian bots and trolls and all that, there's nobody better than him. If we appoint him, right, let's get Mueller involved in this because he's done such a great job as a special Miss Prosecutor, right?
Yeah.
So what do you think?
Love it.
Do you think? Can we start a movement? Hashtag Mueller.
Why don't we get Rosensteinberg moved over to that one? What do you think?
Well, if Rosenstein just appoints Mueller to investigate, because I think we need a special prosecutor here to get to the bottom of what supposedly happened.
We can get, is Strick qualified to do it? Is his name Strick? Whatever his name was?
Well, I'm sure they could bring him out of retirement and maybe get Comey in on the game and maybe get
with his credentials,
McCabe.
Shouldn't be a problem.
Yeah, McCabe, and we can get all these guys, have a reunion and get all the corrupt FBI to really get Comey to the bottom. Right.
Let's just go ahead and Comey will do it.
Yeah, can you imagine his letter advising them whether or not to prosecute Kavanaugh? I mean, come on. This is I can't even listen to this crap anymore, Joe. I don't even want to know about it. Just take the vote. If you want the guy, get him. If not, don't. But understand, if the Republicans fail at this, they're going to pay a heavy, heavy price at the ballot box, and they know it.
I agree with you. I so agree with you.
Yeah, if you can't even get this done, what the hell do we need you for? You are completely useless. You are like mammary glands on a bull. Although nowadays maybe they would be more useful, but generally, my father used a nastier expression. But you get the idea. It's like a bottle opener at an AA meeting. It's just not stuff you need. But I'll tell you what. Did you hear? I know you heard about this, and we haven't talked about it. The FAA was basically dumped their science test and their math test for wannabe air traffic controllers, and instead they became a historical questionnaire because, all right, and understand this is a major problem because I think about it all the time when I'm flying in the air, that there's not enough minority air traffic controllers. That's the first thing. The second that plane leaves the ground, Joe, it's the first thing I said, there's not enough. I saw the tower. There's too many white guys there. We need more minorities, right? Regardless what their qualifications might be. I mean, they were turning down guys who are air traffic controllers on carriers and for the Army, for the Air Force, rather. Guys who were, telling planes going 1,500 miles an hour where to land. I think that those guys were a lot more qualified. But, this all comes down to affirmative action. And I always would prefer to have an affirmative action pilot in the pilot seat. I want an affirmative action air traffic controller in the tower. And I want to go to an affirmative action cardiologist because it's just the right thing to do, Joe, isn't it?
Yeah. Listen, I had the same issue here in L.A. where you had a Hispanic, I won't mention the person, but you had a Hispanic legislator show up at a public pool site in L.A. And he was out of his mind crazy because the lifeguards did not represent the people in the pool. And my first thought was, you mean they weren't human? No. The problem was there were too many white lifeguards.
Oh, my God.
And not enough blacks or Hispanics. He was not interested in qualifications. He was interested in color. So I'm going, here's what would happen. They would put them in place, and then somebody would drown and die, and then he would blame the fact that these people didn't have enough instruction when we already had people there that could have saved their lives.
Oh, my God.
That's how asinine L.A. has.
Can I scream? Yeah. Can I just scream out loud? I mean, hey, well, look, the one profession that's thriving in the new economy is tattoo artists. And I think if you are a dyslexic tattoo artist, you the world is your oyster. I think anyone will go to you, because then you can write the thing backwards on the person's arm so they won't be able to read it, but anybody else who's looking at it will be able to read it. What do you think? Dyslexics are a group that are highly discriminated against. You know that, Joe.
God,
and
it's constant, though. There's always one group that you're going to tee off in one shape, way, manner, or form, right?
That's right. And I think, dyslexic air traffic controllers could really be an asset to air traffic safety in America, don't you?
God, don't get me started.
They just have to use a mirror. But as long as they use a mirror, they'll be okay. Or maybe there's a setting on their monitor and it can make things backwards for them.
Yeah. Well, again, like I said before, it's they don't care. They don't care about equality. They care about control. Whatever their perception is, whatever thought, whatever thought comes between their two ears has to be truth, has to be real. And it's just amazing to me. I don't know how we let them get away with this. How did we lose the battle?
I think we were too busy trying to make a living, trying to pay our kids tuition, trying to lead a happy life. And we didn't notice these parasites that were just intent upon devouring everything in their paths, devouring all sense of decency, devouring all of our values, our trusted institutions. And they're like that thing on Star Trek. Remember the thing that destroyed universes? It was like a big long pipe, and it went around the galaxies, sucking up universes and destroying them. And that's what liberalism does. Yeah, and you know what? But here's the thing that scares me. My wife and I were talking about this weekend. She said, "Why do they lie so much?" I said, "Honey, they're not lying. They really believe this stuff is true." Oh, yeah. Very. Right? Their ideologies, much. They are true. They are real and better for you. You're too stupid to know it. Because, look, every liberal wakes up in the morning thinking that there is no history but what happens to today. And they certainly don't have any historic recall beyond when they learned how to, when they were toilet trained. And the earliest, that's generally people's little bit later than that, earliest memories. So when you have a historic perspective that lasts maybe 30 to 50, 60 years, you're going to misunderstand and misapprehend a lot of what's gone on in history, you know? You're just not going to get it. Yeah. So. Well, look, you have people who don't know what our young people growing up, not knowing what the Civil War was, not knowing what World War II was all about. I mean, I could go on and on and on with this. This is so infuriating to me. And I'm in education, right? Yeah. And I got to tell you something. You and I think I could talk about it on your show. I hope. But I'm running for school board again. I've been on there for 9 years. And here's the funny thing about it: the left is coming at me, and they can't call out anything that I've done on the board. They only call out what I'm doing in my, I do a radio show, I do a this, I do a that, and that makes me dangerous to children. Yeah. Because I'm expecting them to step up and be responsible. Oh my God. I mean, seriously, it is amazing where these people are coming from. Yeah. That is incredible. And hey, if anybody should be there, it's certainly you. I mean, thank you. You've been fighting the fight, saving them money in spite of themselves, right? And, it's you know what? Sometimes I get. You ever watch that show? And forgive me, I'm not trying to insult anybody. That My 600-Pound Life. That's one of my favorite shows. No, I'm afraid I've missed it. I must not have enough channels on my TV. The thing I love about this is. This doctor truly is trying to help people who need help. They're on their deathbed when it comes to being overweight. And, if you've got a real disease, that's one thing, all right? But these people are filmed going to the doctor's office for the first time where he's going to, check them out and make sure they're okay and see what he can do to help them. And they will show up there 30 pounds heavier than when they called him, and it's only like a week later. And he says, "Have you been sticking to my diet?" Oh, yeah. Now, wait a minute. They know they've been filmed. Yeah. And they say, well, I've had a few bumps here and there, but overall, I've done it. I've stuck to the diet. He's like, come on, really? Is this how we're going to start a relationship? I think that's how Democrats are.
The far left Democrats are the same way. They believe it.
So if you're a Democrat, don't go on a diet. Is that what you're telling me? Because or certainly don't go to a doctor because you're just going to lie to him anyway.
You got to go on the diet when you decide you want to really go on the diet.
These people. Well, hey, what can you say here that hasn't been said already? Dieting, is the hardest thing in the world that most of us ever confront, and I'm sympathetic to anybody who really, is really overweight and can't do anything about it. But, at some point you have to take responsibility and say, I've got to do something or stop complaining. So anyways, a lot of dishonesty. Now the second and third charges against him, it's ridiculous, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Always. And you know what? One of the chapters in my book, I go, why do they have to lie to win? If you have a product that's better than anybody else's, if you have something that's going to work and it actually helps people, you don't have to lie about it. You get it out there. People will see it. They'll use it. They'll do whatever. And it'll win every time, won't it?
Yeah, it should in theory. Yeah. In theory, it should definitely, if you're selling a better product and if you con people and lie to them, eventually they will catch on, even if they're Americans. And and I think that's what's going on now. People are catching on and they're getting it. And, it's like it's time to cut the BS and really get down to what's important to you, to your family, all of that. And that's what you and I try to do is, hey, we might be a little absurd in many of our, many of our things, but look, it's really a question of truth and your life. How are you going to control things? How are you going to live your life and live a life that's worth living, Joe?
Yeah, you know what? If you can't help, again, you had said it before. People inherit. When I'm running for school board. It's. I'm not running because I want to become governor next. For God forbid, I don't want to be governor of this state. My heart was with career tech ed. We were doing away with career tech ed. I got back in there. I fought for it. We're seeing an increase. More and more kids are being involved in that. But the bottom line with the whole thing is that if you don't get involved, if you don't try to make a difference, you won't. And it doesn't matter what you're up against.
That's such a great
heck,
point.
You and I are pretty strong, stubborn people.
I would go. I've been able
to make changes. You can make changes too. You just got to be willing to get in there and fight the fight. Most people don't want to do that.
I fought it once, and I like fighting it the way I'm fighting it now. But we do need ground troops. And look, the biggest issue for urban areas that will enable Republicans and conservatives to retake those cities is homelessness. You're going to interview me later on in the week about that, about what's going on there. And, really it is a total out and out man-made disaster that shouldn't exist, that there's no reason for it to exist, and that we've allowed our awful politicians, particularly on the left, to exploit these people and to create a disaster that should have never, ever existed. And I've got the solution to it. It ain't pretty, but it's humane, much more humane than allowing people to live on the streets, which is the worst possible option for anyone. If you really care about these people, you cannot allow them to live on the street and be preyed upon by these awful people and politicians too, for that matter, because they're just exploiting the homeless. On why we need more low-income housing. Homelessness is not the result of low-income housing shortages. Homelessness is a result of failure of the liberal mindset, right?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, the short answer to that is yes. There's in California, there's so much more we need to do to help these. But, people leaving here in droves. Mm-hmm. I mean, droves. And it's just crazy, man. I'll tell you what, it takes a lot. It takes a lot to keep fighting. Anyhow.
Yeah, it sure does. And I guess we'll leave it at that. So the best place to find you, Joe, is your website.
Is at the local pizza.
Well, when you're not eating pizza, where should we look for you?
Therealside.com. Go to therealside.com. Everything's there. Stations, times, everything.
All right. Hey, well, we love the show. Keep up the great work. And we'll talk to you again real soon, Joe.
Yep. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
All right. Hey, and by the way, just in case I failed to mention, just write us an email and be part of the show. Twitter feed @Kerry Lutz, Facebook page, Financial Survival Network. Don't worry, there's no conservative bias on social media. I can attest to that because they've been biased against me almost from the beginning. I was never big enough for them to really not have their way. But so I just bypass them. So bypass the big social media. You'll be a lot happier that you did. And check out Joe at therealside.com. Talk to you again real soon, Joe.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
FSN Radio. It's all about what's next. Go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com and sign up for your free weekly newsletter. You'll also get 3 free reports. The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.